Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a really lovely day. Today I am going to be doing a video that's kind of been requested, and also I'm hoping it's going to answer questions that I get asked a lot. You can obviously tell from the title that I'm going to be talking today about where my children got their names from. I did actually do a video a little bit like this, probably getting on for 3 years ago now, so it's probably quite old, but I also talked about other stuff in that video, so names that I liked in general. Today I'm just going to talk about my 4 children's names, where their names came from, why we like them, what they mean, all those kind of things. I really love watching these videos of how people chose their baby names. I just think it's, I mean, I've spoken before about the fact that I'm quite obsessed with baby names full stop, but I just think it's really nice to know where people have got their ideas from for names. If this is your first time popping across to this channel, hello, I'm Lucy. It's really nice to have you here. I'd love it if you would subscribe. I share all kinds of content, day in the life videos, lifestyle, chatty. We are a family of 6. We have 2 boys and 2 girls. And because I've got those 4 children, I probably need to start talking about their names or we're going to be here all day. Okay, so first up, we have my lovely firstborn, Dylan Aiden, who is 8. 8. I can't really believe that I have an 8-year-old. That sounds really grown up. It makes me feel old that I have an 8-year-old. But yes, he is 8. His name, I think, out of the 4 children, he's got the most sort of conventional name. I feel like to a certain degree, I have got braver with baby names as I've gone along, and I found my stride and I found my style a little bit more. Now this is not to say that I don't like Dylan's name. I love Dylan's name and I can't imagine him being called anything else, but it definitely is the most sensible of our names. Saying that, the fact that he has a sensible name suits him down to the ground because he is Captain Sensible. We call him Mr. Health and Safety in this house because he's that sensible. So it wouldn't really suit him to have a crazy name, to be honest. His name was basically a done deal from before Rich and I got pregnant, before we even got married, like way back in the dark ages of Lucy and Rich. When we very first got together, I'm not even sure we were like boyfriend and girlfriend. I think we were kind of like seeing each other. I can remember us having a conversation that went along the lines of how many children do we want to have one day, and I said I wanted to have 4, and that I was absolutely positive that I would have 2 boys and 2 girls. I would have 1 boy called Dylan, 1 girl called Lily, and that I would let the dad choose the other 2 names because that seemed fair to me. And I can remember Rich sort of laughing and saying, do you know what, I really like the name Dylan, the names Dylan and Lily. I think they're really cute, and if you have babies with me, you're only having 2 anyway, so you won't need any more names. We know how that one went down, don't we? We'd always really loved the name Dylan. I feel like I've always just liked the name generally. I like the way it looks written down with the Y, and the kind of has a kind of like good flow of like up and down, the way that it's written down. I like how it sounds. I'm quite a fan of like N sounding names anyway, that kind of like soft N at the end. And it's a Welsh name, which is very apt for us because Rich is Welsh and I am half Welsh, so it feels like it's a good nod to our heritage to have a Welsh name. Aiden was actually the other boy's name that we were considering. We were like torn between Dylan and Aiden. Like I say, Dylan was always a bit of a done deal, but we did have Aiden in the mix as well. However, around here when we had Dylan, I did know of somebody else that had an Aiden and another friend of a friend that had an Aiden, whereas I didn't know anybody with a Dylan. Plus it had been our favourite anyway. We did for a little while consider using some different family names as a middle name because there are fat boys' family names on both sides of our family that we could have passed on, but we came to the conclusion that we didn't really love either of them, the names that we could have passed on as middle names, and we would have been kind of using them because we felt like we had to, although nobody had said that we had to and nobody put us under any pressure to. So at the very last minute we were like, do you know what, let's just use names that we love. Let's give our baby a whole name that we love, which is what we did. So Dylan Aiden is his name. Dylan means son of the sea, which I think is just perfect, not only for our family because we really love the sea and time at the beach, and we're a kind of really water baby seaside kind of family, but Dylan is literally obsessed with water, and he has been since he was tiny. Like before he could swim, He's just been such a daredevil about water. He loves being in the water. He's just so fearless when it comes to water. And that feels really apt for him. And Aiden means small and fiery. Now, while I wouldn't necessarily call Dylan fiery, he definitely gets a fire in his belly at times. And he's definitely small. Gets a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about that at times because he is quite petite compared to his friends, but it just feels like it's a good fit for him. He is small, he has got a fire in his belly, and he's obsessed with the sea. So all the meanings of his names are really, really perfect for him too. Next up, we have our Everly Grace. Now, I love her name. I don't actually remember where I saw or heard the name Everly, but it was before we were pregnant the second time, so Dylan must have been a baby because it definitely wasn't on my radar when I was pregnant with him, but it would have been shortly after I had him and this name came on my radar. As soon as I'd heard the name Everly, I just knew I was going to have a daughter called that one day. We didn't find out what we were having second time, so I didn't know whether it was going to be Everly or whether it was going to be a boy or what, but I was just so sure that I was going to use the name Everly. I love the fact that it's modern and unusual, but it doesn't sound wacky because it sounds a bit like Evelyn and it sounds a bit like Emily, and I just feel like it's really pretty, and yeah, I love it to pieces. Her middle name is Grace, which I feel like is going to be like their generation's version of Louise. You know how like 80s kids I mean, I am not Louise as a middle name, but practically everybody I know that's my sort of age has got Louise as a middle name, and I feel like Grace is going to be that. I feel like I know so many children like Everly's age and younger or just slightly older that have got Grace as a middle name, but it's classic and it's beautiful, and I really like the fact that it was like a nod to our first dance, because we did our first dance to Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol, and my favourite line from that song has always been, I need your grace to remind me to find my own. And I've always thought it's really beautiful, and that sums up what a good relationship is about. Not necessarily about finding grace, but seeing things in your partner that mirror back and help you be a better person. And I just really love that there was this nod to our first dance in her name. So historically, the name Everly was actually an old English name, and it was actually an old boy's name. I can't imagine a boy being called Everly now, but yes, that's what it was historically, and it means from the wild boar meadow, which is not necessarily the most pretty kind of meaning, but is very apt for our Everly, who is kind of likeable in a china shop. She definitely seems like she's from a wild boar meadow every now and again. Grace obviously means graceful, or to have grace, and I feel like those two names are quite contradicting in meaning, but I feel like in a lot of ways that's perfect for our little Everly Grace, who is the perfect contradiction of kind and gentle and empathetic and sensitive and completely crazy, chaotic, loud, messy mischief. So they're literally those two things combined in that name, and I think it suits her perfectly. Then third up, we have our little Ashlyn Quinn. Yep, you heard that right, Ashlyn Quinn. There's people here who are going, who's Ashlyn? Have they had a child that they've not told us about? So yes, our Quinn is actually her middle name and not her first name. This is part of the reason I'm doing this video, because I get asked so many questions about her name. Let's get it all out in the open. I found the name Ashlyn on a baby name list and threw it out at Rich and said, you know, what do you think about Ashlyn? And Rich straight away was like, no, do you know what? I really like that. I feel like that works. I feel like it kind of uses a very similar kind of model to Everly's name, in that it sounds like names that are more popular and more well known, but it's got that little twist on it. So it sounds a bit like Ashley, but it's got that sound, and I'm a very big fan of those like soft ending names anyway. And for a long time, in fact basically up until my waters broke, she was going to be Ashlyn Brooke, because I wanted that water thing. I quite liked the idea of the brook, and the kind of tied in with Dylan's name with the links to water. But then when my waters broke, we were watching Homeland, Now, anybody that has watched Homeland, there is a character who happens to be my favourite character in the whole series called Peter Quinn. And I basically turned round when my waters went as we were watching Homeland and said, we've got to use the name Quinn. Quinn had been on our shortlist, I think, for all our babies, because it's quite gender neutral. I think we'd kind of discussed it for boys and for girls the whole way through, but never kind of settled on it. And I kind of turned around and was like, I feel like this baby's chosen their own name, we need to use the name Quinn. So we kind of dumped Brooke and we brought Quinn in instead, and Ashlyn Quinn just had a really, really nice ring to it. And we obviously announced her name as Ashlyn Quinn, but then very quickly I used to find that I called her Ashlyn Quinn. I didn't just call her Ashlyn as a baby, I called her both names. And then somewhere along the line, Quinn ended up sticking. So I don't know if it was because Ashlyn felt like a more grown-up name, whereas Quinn really suited her personality. Like, it was just really simple and cheeky, and it kind of suited her personality better. So she sort of became Quinn. It was never really something intentional, and it's never because we didn't like the name Ashlyn, because I do still really love the name Ashlyn. It was just that as a baby, the Quinn thing somehow stuck. Now, the jury is a little bit out on what we're going to do when she goes to school, because I feel like we've got another year and a bit before she goes to school, but I feel like the point when she goes to school, whatever name she's going by then is going to kind of stick, and that's going to be it. So I feel like if she does know that both names are hers, and if she's introducing herself to somebody she's not met before, she introduces herself as Ashlyn Quinn, but she talks about herself as Quinn, and she likes us to call her Quinn. But nursery have been really good about kind of using both names. I think we'll just have to see where we are next year. I think possibly she may end up going to school as Ashlyn Quinn, not hyphenated, but just using both names. I don't know. We'll see where we go with that one. Quinn actually means something really random. It's like, hang on, let me just Google it because I can't remember. It's like descendant of something. Descendant of Con. It's Irish. I mean, that's not a very inspiring name, is it? But Ashlyn means dream, and honestly, that is such a perfect like name meaning for her, because when she was a baby, we used to literally say she was a dream baby. She was just an angel. We didn't know we had her. She loved to sleep. It was just like the perfect name for her. But one of the things I've always said about all of the kids' names is I feel like it was important to me that they had middle names that we liked, because I feel like I'm happy for them to choose and have their own input on it. So if she decides she wants to be Quinn, that's fine. If she decides she wants to be Ashlyn, that's fine. If Everly decides she wants to go by Grace, that's fine. I think that's the beauty of middle names, is it gives them options, and Quinn may essentially end up becoming like a family pet name, and she may decide to use Ashlyn elsewhere. She may decide she just wants to be called Quinn, and then she'll have that awkward thing one day where she decides to get married and they'll say, do you Ashlyn Quinn? And everybody will go, who's Ashlyn Quinn? I'm gonna let her choose. I mean, it might sound ironic, the idea that you're gonna let, like, what's she gonna be, a 4-year-old choose, but I feel like it's her life and it's her name, and she should be able to choose within reason what she would like to be called. And then last of all, that brings us on to fourth and final, our little Wylder Heath. Now, Wylder is a name, I feel like for me, I had that lightning moment with Wylder. It was quite early on in the pregnancy, and I saw the name on a list and I instantly fell in love with it in much the same way as I did with Everly. And I was just so sure if I had a boy, that was what the name was going to be. Only problem was is that I came up against Rich, who wasn't actually a massive fan of the name Wylder to begin with. When I first found it on our list, it was spelled with an I. I changed the spelling to a Y sort of for 3 reasons really. Now, one of them was I felt like when it was written down with the I, it looked like the word Wylder, so it didn't necessarily look like a name, whereas I felt like with the Y it looked more like a name written down rather than just a word. I liked the fact that if it was W-Y, it had that link to Rich's middle name, which is Wynn, which is W-Y-N, and I kind of liked that it had that kind of nod to his middle name. And I also, I don't know if you have noticed, all of the children have got a Y and an L in their first name, and I just thought it was really nice that we could carry that on. So I just loved the name Wylder. I like the fact that it kind of feels like outdoorsy and natural. It's got that kind of slightly cheeky twist to it, I feel like. But I also feel like it could totally be a really like preppy name too. You could totally be like a real kind of academic geeky person called Wylder, just as much as you could be a sporty person called Wylder, or you could be like a real rocky, like moody type called Wylder. I feel like it works for all sorts of different personalities. Of course, we don't know what personality he's going to have. Wylder's middle name is Heath. Now that is a name that both Rich and I really like. I was looking generally at single syllable names because I felt like because it was going to be the last baby, it would sound quite nice to have a single syllable name at the end. So I was kind of half looking for single syllable names. Plus they always make really nice middle names, I think. And Heath had popped up and both Rich and I really liked it. I really like the fact that it reminds me of Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, and I absolutely love that book. I think, I was going to say he's a fantastic character. He's not a particularly nice character all of the time, but it's honestly like hands down one of my favourite books, and I like the fact that I could get that literary link in there with Heath. I like the fact that it's nature. It kind of makes you think of like heathlands and kind of plants and moors and all that sort of thing. And Rich and I met in Yorkshire, so that kind of feels like that ties in really nicely as well. Basically, when I went into labour, we still weren't entirely sure whether he was going to be Wylder or Heath, and I had said I was kind of happy for it to be either. I mean, I loved Wylder, but I wanted Rich to love it too, and I felt like Rich was leaning more towards Heath, and I was at this point, do you know what? I'm happy for it to go either way. So we kind of, when I went into labour, we weren't really sure what he was going to be. He was going to be Wylder or Heath. I definitely had a preference. Rich definitely had a preference, but I wasn't going to be that bothered either way. Then of course, he made his slightly wild arrival, and I said to Rich very, very early on after he was born, before we had even really had a chance to talk about names because there were still lots of people around, that was a bit of a wild arrival. You know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, don't you think? Basically, once things are settled down and we were at hospital and everybody was kind of cleared and okay and fine, I said to Rich, so what are we going to call this baby? I honestly am happy for you to choose at this point. I felt on cloud 9. I was like, do you know what? If he wants to call this baby Heath Wylder, I'm happy with that. If he wants to call this baby Wylder Heath, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to let you choose. And Rich turned around to me and said, he's Wylder Heath, isn't he? And I was like, I really do think he is, and I feel like you have chosen the right answer there. Wylder as a name, particularly the way that we spelt it, because we kind of made that one up, doesn't necessarily have a name meaning. I did a lot of research around to kind of see what the meaning might be, and basically I think it's a little bit like Grace in that it just is wild, like it's to do with wildness and being from the wilderness and all that sort of thing. And Heath just means the heathland dweller. So again, it's quite sort of outdoorsy. I feel like the meanings of both the names kind of tie together quite nicely. I mean, hopefully he's going to be outdoorsy, because otherwise his really outdoorsy name's not going to suit, is it? But we'll have to wait and see on that one. So that is the 4 of them. That is their 4 names. That's how we chose their names. That's what their names mean. I hope that that has answered questions that I get about their names and where their names came from and all that kind of thing. If you have done a video like this, I would absolutely love to know about it. And can you let me know in the comments that you have, because I love finding out how people have chosen their baby names, and I randomly just search it from time to time. I like hearing, particularly in like siblings, how sibling names tie together. So it was really important to me that there was some way to kind of tie my 4's name together with the whole LY thing, and I love hearing when people have got little connections like that through their kids' names. Also, let me know in the comments if you want to hear that story of how Rich and I got together, because I actually can't believe we've never talked about this before. And do you think I should get Rich to talk about it with me? I feel like the 2 of us could sit down and reminisce about the old days and how we got together. Although probably knowing Rich, he won't remember any of it, so he probably wouldn't have very much to say. So yeah, let me know if you'd like that. make sure you're subscribed if you like watching baby name videos, because I have got it on my list in the next couple of weeks to do videos of all my shortlist names that we didn't use. There is quite a substantial list. So if you're into the names I've chosen and you're needing to name a baby, there's going to be a nice long list of the names that I liked, and probably most of them were just vetoed by Rich, or ones that just didn't make the cut for whatever reason. So if you're into baby names, definitely make sure you're subscribed. And I am going to go now, and I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you for another video very soon. Bye everyone.